So, guys, welcome to the second episode of Television by Harry. I would like to start the episode right away to go straight to the point and go right to the subject that it's gonna gather the three stories of today, the conclusions, the subjects. As the first episode, just giving some shape of what we are doing here, what I'm doing here, and trying to focus in the main subject, in the explore of the human behavior in different situations, trying to, make it not that dramatic, not focus too much in judgments, just talking about situations that I found or that I get. Maybe they are true, maybe they are not, maybe they are fiction. But I think that the important part is to see that everything that we discuss here, everything that we say here, could happen in real life and could happen to a person that you know. And they are situations that happen to people around the world. So before to start with the first story, with the first situation that I want to share with you, let's talk a little bit about an introduction. I'm trying to get used to this thing. So I'm pretty much a writer. As you can see, English is not my first language. It's just an option that I'm using to reach more people with the purpose of gathering a community with the time. So that's why I use English. That's why I don't use Spanish, which is my native language. Maybe sometimes I'm nervous. Maybe sometimes I speak better. I speak worse. So you will have subtitles just in case you don't get something. And going to the big subject, the title of the episode, it's about secrets. Secrets of families, secrets, personal secrets. And we have three specific situations today and talk about those situations. So the same way, I'm not gonna include news at the ending like I did in the first episode. That was more a pilot, trying to see what it works. If I like it, if I don't like it, I didn't like it. I didn't make a clip of it. So let's just keep without that part. You can see the chair is a little bit old, but it is what it is. It is what we have. So yeah, I'm just gonna discuss the three stories. Maybe the episode is gonna be shorter, but I'm gonna try that the discussion after, or the thoughts after every story is gonna be longer. It's gonna be more specific. So the same thing of before, giving the shape to the episodes, giving the shape to the podcast. So we're gonna discuss three people, three secrets, three different situations in three different parts of the world, which is going to be more interesting, more diversity. Because in the last episode, I tried to make it more funny. I think maybe I forced myself to do some comments, trying to go there's comedy or something like that. And it's just not just giving the shape to the podcast, it's also trying to find my own voice, and trying to find myself, and trying to what works for me. So yeah, just checking this still recording. So the first story is the last letter from Uncle Alberto. So I'm gonna read it first. We are gonna discuss the subjects after that. So it says, my mom was the one who told me this story, And apparently, judging by the way she said it, I'm the first one to ever know. A family secret, as they say. Personally, I think it's just one more rumor in the long list of chaotic gossip that follows a person like my grandma. But what do I know? Considering the time, the place, and everything that Colombia used to be and still is to some degree. The protagonist is Uncle Alberto, my mom's uncle, a man she had never met, and my grandmother was the only person who knew him, quotation marks include. This must be around 1972, give or take. Uncle Alberto was a cop, not dirty, not a hero either, just a guy who earned his paycheck and scratched his belly at home. My mom told me there were two siblings, and my grandma was the youngest. Alberto was the oldest, the protector of the family after their father died in the army. He cared for their mother and his favorite, Amparo, my grandma. She was his princess, he used to say. He was almost 10 years older than her. Eventually, my grandma hit adulthood. She got rebellious, wanted more freedom, but Alberto was always breathing down her neck, keeping track of everything she did and everything she went. I suppose, and my mom insists, that his intentions were good. The society back then was a step in misogyny, and on top of that, he was terrified that something might happen to her. She eventually had enough and told him to back off. Weeks later, she started dating a man, the kind of guy people in the neighborhood call bad news. And those neighborhoods, men, they knew everything. If someone slept with someone, if someone killed someone, the street knew it before the newspapers. Alberto knew this guy, the new boyfriend, Carlos. Everyone knew he was a mess, a drunk. Eventually, Amparo and Carlos moved in together, even though she tried to keep her distance. Alberto gave her a brotherly warning that if Carlos ever turned out to be the man that everyone say he was, he would be better watch his back. Time passed. Carlos got fired from his construction job for being drunk. My grandma had to work two jobs, 14 hours a day, sweating her life away. And Carlos, he stayed at home, drinking and doing nothing. Alberto heard about this, and now, let me be clear, he always had an anger issue. He would explode at anything and had to have things his way. And being a cop in Colombia back then, he had absolutely freedom. So, when the news reached him, he stormed into his sister's house and gave her an ultimatum. Carlos either found a job or there would be consequence. And well, Carlos did find a job, helping a local gang smuggle stuff across the border to Peru. Alberto found out, but he didn't get involved. Those were dangerous people, and at least Carlos was bringing in money. But with more money came more booze and more women. Eventually, my grandma had enough. She must be confront him because Carlos hit her, left her with a black eye. Of course, Alberto heard about it the next day. Let's keep reading here. Okay. Their mother depended on Alberto. She already had memory problems and couldn't take care of herself, but Alberto ignored that. He grabbed his machete and went straight to the bar to find Carlos. He attacked him from behind, swung the machete again and again until either he got tired or realized what he was doing. Carlos lost an eye, part of an ear, and because he tried to shield himself, half his hand and several fingers were cut off. That's probably when Alberto realized what was doing. Rumors spread fast. He had to leave the country immediately. 2 days later, the gang Carlos had worked for was already looking for him. Alberto never said goodbye to his mother. He didn't want to upset her. To my grandma, he said he would write or call as soon as he got to Ecuador. She waited for the letter or the call until the day she died. No one ever heard from Alberto again, and my grandma had to flee that town too, leaving her own mother behind to raise the baby she was carrying, my mother. So, well, as a Colombian person, I have many of these stories. In my family, the rage problems, the bad company, the bad environments, the violent environments. But there are three specific things that I would like to discuss about this story. Um, the first one is, what does mean to really protect someone? Because in this case and in this mindset of being the man and being protecting, and of course Carlos was an asshole. He hit his girlfriend, the Alberto's sister. But I can get and I can understand why he will get that rage, that instinct to do something to him. We don't know until we are in those situations, and of course everyone reacts in a different way. But my point is, and this is something that my father told me, and also army members told me, that the best way to protect someone is keep it like the distance, being aware of the consequence, being aware of what is going to happen to these people, not just you getting your or keeping your proud of man or the person you are and thinking that that's the most important thing. Sometimes the most important thing, the best thing that you can do is take head down and find a smarter solution and see that there are fights you cannot win. Like Alberto probably disappeared. Like we're talking about the all Colombia without restrictions, without a good control over criminal and crime situations and murder and stuff. So yeah, probably he disappeared. My grandpa disappeared back then. I never met him, and he was involved also with the wrong people, and well, he had that an ending that you can imagine. But yeah, it's about to maybe knowing your fights, but it's more thinking about the consequence. If you are by yourself and you want to, in this case, go and do that and fight the dude, knowing that his group, his gang is gonna go after you. If you are just by yourself, yeah. But in this case, his sister was depending on, like, her staying in the city was depending on it. She had to run away, and his mother died with dementia, being ill, being unable to take care about herself, and she died alone, probably without understanding too much, without getting why her kids aren't there, or even remembering it, or knowing how to eat anymore. So it's easy to say, oh, I will do this and I will do that, but it's healthy and it's good to keep in mind, because we never know when we're going to be in that kind of situation. Maybe not that physical, but about, I don't know, in a work environment, in a situation with your family that doesn't have to go to the limits, to the physical situations, but is a matter of you understanding, if I do this and I go for my proud, or I fight for it, or I have to be the tough one or the one that hits the stronger, what happened after, and what happened to the people around you and the people that you are taken care of and that cares about you, because it's not just they got fucked up, he disappeared, so that probably was hurtful for their family, and especially for the grandma of this story, his little sister. So yeah, the first thing is, I think, yeah, it doesn't really mean to take care about someone, to think about someone. It's not just go straight to the point and fight. It's thinking what happened to that person after I do this, after I react in this way. Like, hold your horses and see, okay, I have this option, this option, this option. What happened in each option, and how each option is going to affect this person. What is over me? Am I proud? How tough I am? Or how it's going to be their lives after I do this? So is taking care about the jumps that you do. If you are just by yourself, I think it's better. You don't have to worry about that, just by yourself, and what you think is right and what you want to do and how you want to die, maybe. But yeah, that's the first part, and this happened a lot in, especially back then, with this kind of tough man family member protecting. Like, yeah, you have to be protective, but you have to smart. Maybe the tough part of being the man there is eating shit in silence, swallowing your pride. In this case, taking his family far from the city and far from the dude, and just, awful, but live it like that and keep the distance. But obviously, this person didn't think about that, and it is what it is. It's easy for me to say it because I wasn't in that situation, but probably I will do other thing. Who knows? The other thing that I want to, because I have my notes here, the other thing I want to discuss is, let me check here. The violence that keeps in the family environment, the level of violence, the level of rage that could seem normal, that could seem as the normal way of react. Because, for example, for example, I'm a Colombian, and by the environment that I was raised, it was always taught to me that if someone hits you, even by a mistake, you once were 10 times worse, 10 times stronger. You go after that person, you hit back, you keep your proud. So this kind of teaching of being the one, being the man, being the toughest, being the strong, being the smartest, being the vicious, being the bad one, it's just raising violence and keeping violence in the environment. It's a bad teaching. Like, yeah, you have to defend yourself and put your limits and put your place, but at the same time, you cannot go and beat the shit out of someone as an answer of every situation that you are losing. That's not the way the life works. The life, sadly, is gonna make you eat shit, and you cannot do anything about that. And if you do something, it could be worse. So again, it's a matter of knowing your fights, knowing what you have to do, how you have to react. But this kind of environment, this happen everywhere. This happen in every kind of country, in every kind of family. But in my case, that this, for example, is close to me, is they're raising with ideas that everything has to be answered with a hit in the face. Everything has to be answered with violence and violence and violence. So you raise radical people, and that people is going to teach the same to their kids. So yeah, that will be the second subject. The third subject is the silence as a family legacy. This involved more of the woman, of especially of back then. Still, this kind of things happen, but if you see, and this is not the only story, this is the story of 1,000 stories more probably, the woman carrying the consequences, keeping silence, taking down the head, uh, trying to be, or when they have to be the smart ones, and carrying the bullshit that the men or their brothers or their cousins or their fathers or their kids did. For this, again, a raising of violence. So the women have to keep the silence, the women have to go through the long, tough shit. Because, yeah, for example, in this case, Alberto probably was killed. But the one that had to run far from her mother and raise a kid by herself was the sister. And she expect the later her whole life until the day she died. So the silence is a storm, it's a nightmare that most of the times I think this is something that is gonna change from my generation to the future. It has been a big change, but we look the generation of our parents and they're ones that keep the silence, that keep the secrets, that keep the bullshit and keep the tough things with themselves are women. So yeah, that will be the first story. We have 22 minutes already. But I don't think each story takes that long. It was plus the introduction. Let me look here because I have my notes of the stories. The lawyer, no. Okay. Let's go with the second story, Carmen and the Spy. So, Carmen, beautiful, brown skin, a Latina with a fire for salsa, my mother. One of a kind. A woman like her don't exist anymore, or at least I don't see many these days. Now that she's entering old age, or what she calls the last stretch of life, she decides to finally tell me a little secret. One she's been tired of carrying alone. The story happened in 1983, but the first shot fired, metaphorically speaking, was in 1982, when Carmen had finally had enough of that bastard Castro. With whatever tools a woman could manage in those days, she found her way onto a boat leaving a town, head for Miami, or dead. Either was better than Matanzas, Cuba. She made it to the beach somehow, carved out a space for herself into the city's underbelly with shaky English and all the hunger in the world. She worked any job she could, whatever paid. In that desperate, dark place, no judgment from me. And for anyone listening, you draw your own conclusions. I don't feel like giving details. Carmen's last job before her life flipped upside down was serving drinks at the Latin nightclub. She only lasted a few weeks there, but long enough to add a cocktail to the man who would change her life forever. Lucky or unlucky for her, he was Cuban too. Pedro Juan had left Cuba in the 1973. His situation wasn't as raw as Carmen's, but maybe just as desperate. They talk, laugh, shared stories about leaving home, about what they missed from Cuba. Their eyes lit up, and that same night they end up naked, drinking on Pedro Juan's couch. Again, like I say, I don't blame Carmen. She was alone in a desert of beaches, awful jobs, and men who look at immigrant Cuban women like a walking fetish. The short-haired Cuban girl, the Cuban waitress. Pedro Juan was a breath of fresh air, a countryman who got her from day one. And day one became months, months that led straight to marriage. Pedro Juan had made it big in the land of the free. Well, same story, shitty jobs, but his charm and thick accent helped him climb. He made connections all over Florida and eventually started a cozy chain of Latin restaurants. Good house, good car, voice like a telenovela narrator. Carmen fell hard, and based on how she describes him now, I get it. The man could print poetry with his mouth. Time passed. Carmen and Pedro Juan were married and living together. He took on the role of businessman and provider. Told her that she would suffer enough and deserve to enjoy the ocean breeze. She didn't argue. Then, one day, while she was cleaning the house, she heard him talking on the phone in his office with the door shut, but it was in Spanish and it sure as hell wasn't English. She would recognize it either. When Pedro Juan came out, she hit him with the interrogation, quick and direct. He answered without hesitation, said that back when he served in the Cuban army, they were forced to learn Russian. And now that he was far from home, he and his old friends would call each other just to keep the language alive. Nothing serious, he said. Carmen didn't totally buy it, but she let it go. Pedro Juan started taking more trips, longer ones, said it was business, said he had to close deals, shake hands, charm people. The plan was to have restaurants all over the country. Carmen was getting eaten alive by boredom, the absence, the silence. In one of the rare visits of Pedro Juan made back home, Carmen got pregnant. Pedro Juan was thrilled, took her on a surprise trip to Cancun to celebrate. One morning, he left the hotel to go and get breakfast and never came back. Carmen returned to Miami alone. No house, no husband. Weeks passed, her belly grew. Luckily, she had friends, not many, but enough to get her through. Then, one day, two sharply dressed men came to her door. They showed her badges, government or federal or something. She didn't fully understand, but they told her that Pedro Juan had been a spy, a Soviet spy. They made a big deal out of the past tense, had been. She will never see him again. They made that very clear, and apparently they've been watching her the whole time too. My mom did what she could, raise her child with all the love a mother could give, with every opportunity she could find. Years went by, and now she tells me the reason why I've never met my father. This story. Jesus Christ. Okay, that was a good one. That was an interesting one. Again, the one story that probably, not that specific, but the migration, the migration process, the migration thing. So yeah, again, 3 subjects to discuss here that I would like to. Let me check. So the first one is being a mother in exile. And so yeah, guys, we had a short interruption because the guy that gives the things of publicity decided to call my apartment to get in. So well, shit that happens, but let's keep going. So the thing that I was the first subject about the Cuban story that I was trying to discuss is that the being a mother in exile, being an immigrant. So I was trying to explain, I was trying to talk about, I'm sure, and it's okay, it's not the thing that you have to live, which is good. Some of your people are not gonna understand all the process of being an immigrant, of the immigration. In this case, we can have, it's not the same. For example, a Spanish guy decides to go to United States or to Italy. We're talking about really privileged countries. It's really different. And with the passport they have, for example, they can move freely and with freedom to wherever they want. But being an immigrant from a shitty country like Cuba, like Venezuela, like I love my country, but it's a shithole. Colombia, and but the economy is violent, and when you have to gather your money, your things, go to other country, many cases, learn a different language. In my case, I immigrate to Poland. I'm living in Poland, and I'm still in the process of learning Polish. So it's a tough path. It's a tough journal. It's something you trying to chase a better life. And in this case, like I did it for myself. It was just me, my suitcase, and find a new life. And it was tough and it was rough, and you find really mean, bad people in that kind of changes, leaving everything behind, your family, your friends, everything that you know. But in the case of a mother, being an immigrant, being alone, I know that too because my mother was an immigrant too, and she took care of my little brother and myself by herself, finding the work, finding time to help with homework, finding time to prepare food, to pay high school, the school, whatever. And I think there is a subject, like in Spanish, especially in the South American community, we talk about that. But in this case, about immigration in English language, I have not found enough content about it. And in this case, that I can talk about being an immigrant and being a mother at the same time, I love it because it allows me to talk about this and bring this context and this subject to you who don't understand what is that and how tough it is the be alone as being as alone as you can, being by yourself, being scared, don't understanding languages, slangs, dynamics. And in the case of a woman, it's even worse because she was really sexualized for being Latina, for being Cuban. And it's a lot of shit to it. It's a lot of shit to it. So it's always good to remember. Of course, always there are going to be bad immigrants, bad people that found a way to change country, but also really good people that is trying just to not even get a better life, like with money and stuff, just trying to find peace, to be calm, to be able to go to the bus stop without being scared of someone is going to stop you and rob you, or in the case of a woman, rape you. So yeah, I like to bring this. I like to talk about the migration. Probably I'm going to talk more about the migration in the future, but it's a nice opportunity to bring this to the table and talk about this in English language. I don't see it that often, and I get it from my environment. All my friends immigrate. All my friends were either from Venezuela, Colombia, and if you know these countries is for bad things and maybe a beach or something like that. So yeah, the second subject that I want to bring here is the American dream was just a decorate trap. And we're talking about the 80s, And I think it's not just a critique to America. It's not. I think it's in general, some people talking about immigration romanticize the immigration process. They think it's a switch in just 1 second that you change country and already you have money, job, you're in 1 year having your own house and your own car and whatever. The fact that, for example, in South America, we always, long time ago, not now for sure, we romanticize a lot United States, the American dream, being able to immigrate, learn English, all that stuff, and we're gonna be close to the famous people in the movies and getting our houses and cars and good jobs and being stable and going to New York and going to there and then. So it happens to every romanticized country. It happens to France, it happens to Spain, it happens to England, it happens to Canada, with every nice country in our perception as an immigrant that we see as the dream, as the final stop. And it's far from that. And the fact that the country could have a better economy, could have more security, better opportunities for sure, doesn't mean easy. The life is still the same, your skills still the same, and they're gonna, maybe they are not gonna be even enough. Doesn't matter how many skills you have. You can be a doctor in Venezuela and go to, I don't know, Spain and have to clean dishes for 6, 7 years, 10 years, which is okay. It's not trying to take down that kind of job, but it's the reality of being a professional too and going out and, okay, I'm new here and I have to do this. So I think the American dream at this point is more a metaphor for us. Maybe for you, for the people, for the Americans, for United States citizens that had this version of the American dream was about this era in the 50s, 60s, the works, you can buy your house, you can do whatever. It's your different version of the American dream. The American dream for us is the romance that we put of changing country and changing to a country we think is the best and is going to be perfect. Life still life, and you're going to find tough people, tough moments. You're going to be poor, you're going to be hungry, you're going to get humble too easy in that kind of strong changes. And I made a mistake that I thought the same before immigrating, having my dream, my European dream, and it was tough. I had tough works, and it was a really hard path, especially emotionally, because when you have this dream, you think you are willing to leave everything behind. That is going to be easy, and when you are far from it and you think about that and that you cannot go back, at least not right away, it's tough, guys. It's tough. Okay, I will keep just those two reflections, and I'm gonna go with the last story because the episode is taking a little bit longer than it should. And I want to, keep it the same timing, not passing the hour, hopefully. But trying to hold here. Let me drink some water because it's just me doing this shit. So the story is shorter, but it brings to me really good subjects to discuss with you. So the first one is I help the wrong man. My name is Carlos, and I helped the wrong man. It cost me badly, and it still weighed on me. I studied law, and by 2008, I was already working. One Tuesday, I was asked to meet with a guy, bad breath, greasy hair, and dirt under his nails. Turned out he was loaded. The guy was being tried for the murder of a young woman, and for the money, I accept. I want to build a name for myself, contacts, tough cases. In one of our meetings, the animal told me, plain and raw, that yes, he killed her, no shame, no filter. Usually, people insist they are innocent, even to their lawyers, not him. He owned it, and he left it. He let it up to me whether to stay or go. I stay. All this happened in Caracas, Venezuela, the country that had already been in decline for decades. Every branch, every circle, the law was, and I assume still is since I don't live there anymore, a game of influence. Loose, lawless law. I got away with it. I defend the guy, made a few pieces of evidence against him look like bad jokes. I took the money and let myself forget about him. In 2009, I started dating a girl. We are nothing now, but this is something I need off of my chest. She was very close with her sister, and wherever the sister went, her boyfriend followed. The four of us started going out, traveling. Eventually, they got engaged and planned a trip to Merida, a pre-honeymoon getaway, they say. 3, maybe 4 days after, they left. Her boyfriend called, said she went to the store and never came back. They found her 2 days later, you can guess how, dead. A month later, they caught the guy. He killed another woman after, and that's how they find him. When my girlfriend asked me to go with her to the trial and all the hellish process, I saw him, the man who killed her sister. It was the same guy I had defended. Time passed, we broke up, I never told her anything, and the guy, as you'll guess, walked free. Served a light sentence and was released. My ex never recovered from it. Eventually, they left the country. I always tell myself, if we hadn't defended him, some other lawyer will. Maybe the same outcome, maybe not, but still carry it. All 3 women in my head, I lost the faith and the fire in my profession. Now I run a restaurant. So, short, tough, I got this one because it's really interesting. I was explaining how unstable are the basis of a country like Venezuela that has been going down and down the last 3 decades, and I can talk about this because I lived in Venezuela. I want again 3 things to discuss here, maybe just 2. The first one is the illusion that the past is behind us. So, yeah, the talk about forgive your the awkward moments, the cringe moments, the bad moments, leave that behind. That kind of phrase of leaving the past behind could work, but the cases when you have real consequence and consequence that not only affect you, affect other people, that's something you cannot, that's per se an illusion. That's something you cannot leave behind. That's something that you have to live with. I heard once from a writer that I like that the guilty, the consequence, and the friendships that are not with us anymore are the same as carrying dead people in our lives. There's nothing you can change. There's nothing you can do about it anymore, but still it's gonna wait your whole life of wondering a bunch of what if. What if I didn't do this? What if I don't do that? So it's being aware of that. It's being aware that the thing of leaving the past behind is not always gonna work. Sometimes it's gonna be just tough as it is, and it's gonna stay like that, and you have to, as a dead acquaintance, you have to learn how to live with it, how to keep it in your mind, how to wake up every morning. This dude carry, and is gonna carry this for the rest of his life, 3 women that were murdered, and the opportunity of having justice. Maybe he was right. Maybe if didn't get the case, other person will take it, and the result could be the same. But we don't know that, and you don't know that, and he already took part of it, so he will never know that. So that is not gonna be enough excuse or never a way to calm himself down. But again, it is what it is, and it's just to clarify that I have some things that and I'm not that old, I'm 25, almost 26. But still, there are gonna some things that I will have to carry with myself. Not as bad as these, and I hope I will never have to carry something like that. But still, the things that you have to live with, you feel guilty, but you have to not move on completely, just accept that feeling, and this in the suitcase in your head, and it's gonna stay there. So the second subject I want to talk about this is let me check here, the everyday cowardice. So we are getting into an era or a time when we rather to don't be part of the things that happen around us, that we rather just to watch or not even watch. For example, my favorite case or my favorite example of this is when you go in the subway, the public transport, and there is someone crazy, someone that is peeing himself or peeing herself, that is yelling to the window, doing weird stuff when you're rather to ignore, to get far. But no one is that person, that person is not okay. Maybe we should try to talk to, I understand that how life is now, how tough is life. We rather to don't focus too much out of our lives because we already have our bullshit, our things going on, our people that we know dying, bad economic situations, depression, sadness. Everyone has their own shit, and we don't have to get involved in someone else's shit. But the fact that you are around, and we're not talking just about a crazy person in the public transport, we're talking about maybe someone getting attacked in the street, maybe someone getting robbed in the street, and we see it and we don't do anything. And for example, in countries like Colombia, that is my closest experience, people don't want to get involved, and I understand, but you see videos of someone getting robbed, and it's just one person getting, like, stealing something from other one in the middle of the street, and everyone, a bunch of people that could do something for sure, they are like 20 against one, they just rather to watch and see how the person lost the phone or his life. It doesn't happen every time, but it's getting often this thing of not reacting what is happening in front of us, don't getting part of it, don't getting involved. And that should change, because it's really scary that one day it could be you going in the street, something happened to you, a lot of people is around you, and no one is doing shit about it. And you could yell, you could ask for help. No one's gonna help because no one wants to get involved. So yeah, it's a fact that everyone has their own life, their shit's going on, but it's a it's a mindset we have to change, and everyone has to change. And I don't know, it's awful. It's awful. Even if you're, because I read like an article that most of the people don't do it to thinking that someone else is gonna do something, thinking that it's not their problem, or thinking that they're gonna look stupid if they try to do something and they don't look good enough or heroic or something, which is pathetic, is sad, and it's something that I cannot forgive or fully justify. But yeah, guys, so I think that will be all for today. We have almost an hour of episode, I will say. We tell our stories, we discuss our things, and I'm just checking the channel right now. The thing that I say before, if you like it, if you find one of the clips, you go to the full episode. If you listen to this in Spotify or somewhere else, please go to YouTube, subscribe, follow. Let me know any kind of experience similar to the stories that we are telling here. Let me know your opinion about these stories, your opinion about the situations, or your opinion about the reflections that we're giving here. So yeah, that's all. I want a feedback. I'm gonna try to prepare something special for the third episode. Let's keep this project growing up. And that will be all for today. I hope you have a good week. I hope you enjoy yourselves. I hope that wherever you hear this, you're having a good time. And if you're not, I hope it gets better. Be kind, be nice, be safe. And we'll see each other in the third episode or in other episode if you, when you're watching this, I already have a bunch of episodes. I hope so. So bye bye, guys.